Hi friends, welcome to KaityDraws, my video art blog where I document my process and growth as an artist. Today I'm working on a fun little watercolor piece, loosely based off one of the concepts I did for Inktober, day 19 in this case, because I felt that that piece fell just shy of the mark. So the prompt was cloud. To be honest, when I sat down to work on this piece, I really had no idea what I wanted to do. And so I just sort of flicked back through some of the works that I had done recently to see if there were any that I could make improvements on. And I feel like this piece was a good one. I wasn't super proud of that piece when it came out. When I first did it, I feel like, I got the prompt, I got some general feelings down that I was going for, but I didn't feel like the piece itself was as strong as it could have been, just based off of what I had pictured in my mind when I was thinking about the idea. And so I decided to sit down and think about that idea again and what I would do to make it better. And the first thing that came to mind was the pose. It was extremely rigid, way too rigid for the loose, light, airy cloud thing I was going for. And so that was the first thing I wanted to do. So in my sketchbook, I played around with some dynamic poses for a bit and finally settled on this sort of relaxed, reclined, sleeping, dozing off type pose. And I realized that that would be a lot of fun. It would change the overall tone of the piece from what it was originally, but I think that that's okay. I didn't really need it to have the same tone. It wasn't supposed to be the same piece after all. It was just sort of loosely playing with that idea again, coming back to it when I wasn't super happy with it to begin with. And I want to apologize for the cut in the video just there. I ended up losing a bit of footage while I was recording, so there's a little bit of a jump between my drawing and my painting, but I promise you didn't miss anything super interesting, just blocking in some color. So another interesting thing between the two pieces is in my original Inktober piece, I had issued myself the challenge to only work in black and white over Inktober. I did end up using color in a few of them, and I think to halfway decent effect, but on this piece in particular, I really did only use the black and the white. And it ended up very flat. There was a lot of texture in it, but the values were all right in that same dark place. And that's really all you could get from it to a certain extent, especially photographing it. It did not photograph well. And so I took a look at it and I decided that the textures were nice, but the values were not. And I wanted to see if I could maybe use color to help rectify that a little bit, to sort of, bring out the depth of the image. Now, I'm not 100% sure I actually ended up succeeding on that mission, but I do feel like I ended up with a very fun piece regardless. I ended up layering a lot of different cool tones and a lot of textural ways to get the effect I finally finished with. Like you can see here, I'm drawing swirls in her hair. Just trying to sort of recapture the textural look I got in the Inktober piece. It ended up being way more of a challenge than I expected it to be. I expected it to be just as easy as it had been in that piece originally. But the mediums are so different, and the way you use them is so different that, it didn't turn out exactly the same. All that said, though, I do feel pretty happy with this piece, at least as happy as I felt with that piece when I first put it out. So this might be a concept I come back to again after I've had some time to grow a bit more. It's only been like a month after all. And so here you can see sort of the rough underpainting of what I was going for with the focal point of this piece. The concept I eventually came to was, okay, some nature of sky goddess, deity, spirit thing is sleeping in the clouds, and her dress has drifted to the side, and that's the rain. Yeah, let's go with that. And so I wanted to keep everything coming off of her in those blue tones, and to really use line direction to sort of emphasize what's happening to an extent. I really wanted to make it look like those were just sheets of rain. And she's really comfortable, so I didn't want to go with the angry storm cloud look I did in the Inktober piece. That's sort of what I mean by the tone changed. Because in my Inktober piece, she looked serene and happy, but it was clearly just an angry, raging night storm. There was wild lines going in all directions, and it looked stormy. And I loved that. I thought it was great. But the pose and expression that she had didn't match her settings. And I didn't want that same thing to happen in this piece. So it's just the two little bits of rain drapery. And I wanted them to be softer and sort of a gentle pattering of rain. And so I kept them a much lighter blue, and I kept the lines smooth and soft. And I still wanted it to be at nighttime. I don't know about you, but nighttime rains are my absolute favorite. There's something so calming and serene about a nighttime rain. Even a vicious nighttime thunderstorm is always more calm and more serene than a vicious daytime thunderstorm. There's just something about the atmosphere and how it changes at night that really makes that interesting. And so here I am again going over everything, trying to emphasize lines and shadows and directions and give it depth and intrigue, and filling out that background, because I decided I really wanted to push home the whole night sky aspect. She's clearly sleeping, but you can nap at any time of the day, and I wanted it to be more clear what was happening. Oh, so this is an interesting part. I ended up going in with some white acrylic paint for the clouds because I was going to do accents with my white gel pens like I'm accustomed to doing. But all of my gel pens are on the fritz right now for some reason, probably because of the changing of the seasons. But I'm really, really happy with the effect that the acrylic got, because it picked up a little bit of the pigment from the watercolor underneath, and it moves around in a much different way than watercolor ever will. And so I was able to create a really nice fluffy cloud effect, and I got to pull it out of that angry storm cloud area and make it look more like a puffy little rain cloud all up in the sky. And I feel like that's something that this piece needed. It needed to look less like a storm cloud and more like, a little rain cloud, just trying to do its job out there in the middle of the night. I also ended up doing the stars in paint, which, I'm not super happy with the way they came out. I ended up trying to use a bunch of different tools to get small dots of paint because I knew I didn't want to just splatter this piece. I didn't want that kind of messy randomness that you get when you splatter. But it ended up with some not quite uniform stars because of it. And, if that's the piece's greatest fault, I can't be angry. But there are definitely still other faults in this piece and things that I would do better if I were to do it again. But I also feel like a big part of my process in this is watching what I'm doing and growing from it. And that's it. This is the finished piece. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're interested in owning any of my art, I have a link to my shop in the description below, along with a full list of tools and materials used in this video. And a big shout out to all of my lovely Patreon supporters. If you like what I'm doing and want to help make videos happen, please check out my Patreon at the link below. I'll see you next time. Bye.